Hello everybody, my name is KingStix. In this Kindred jungle commentary guide, I'm going to be showing and telling you everything you need to know to play Kindred at a proficient level so you can get out there and start playing her yourself. I think she is an amazing ranged jungle champion who is a great starter before you actually try something like Twitch or 𝐒𝐿𝐼. She'll teach you how to kite, and she's a lot more forgiving to where if you make a mistake on Kindred, you're not automatically going to lose like you would lose on Twitch, and she is quite a bit stronger than Graves right now. So I do recommend her over Graves in this current meta and in this current patch. Kindred is actually one of the top 5 strongest junglers right now, so she's definitely worth your time.
I have a quick announcement before we get back into this video. I'm excited to announce that we are taking part in the Alienware Community Showdown on 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐀. As a community, let's come together and unlock some badass prizes. If you're not sure what the Alienware Community Showdown is, it's a competition between creator communities to earn 2.6 million RP and 12 Alienware PCs. To join, just click the link down below and join my channel on 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐀. All you have to do to compete and earn points is to open up the 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐀 app and just play like you would normally, whether you're playing ranked or normals. 1 kill or 1 assist equals 1 point, and if you win the game, you get 10 points. So join the 𝐒𝐿𝐼𝐀 channel, let's kick some ass and earn some dope rewards.
On Kindred, you have 2 main rune choices. You're always going to be going Conqueror right now, but for your secondary page, you can either go for the free boots and cooldown reduction, or you can go for sudden impact and Ravenous Hunter. If you're going for the free boots, you're going to be doing a lot more ganking and then trying to fight the enemy jungler once you have your full jungle item power spike. If you're going to be going for the sudden impact Ravenous Hunter, it allows you to set up a lot more 1v1s with the enemy jungler since you get those extra bonus stats. Start W and just simply auto attack the red buff and move backwards. You'll get a huge slow. You're always going to want to start red buff on Kindred, on any ranged jungler in general, and on most jungle champions in general because of how much ganking pressure it gives early game. Level 2, take Q so we can pull off a proper gank. In this situation, I'm just going to run straight down to this bush and wait. The enemy bot lane doesn't seem to be responding, so I don't think they know I'm here. The moment Janna steps up, I walk out, throw out my W, Q, and she flashes really early, so there's no point of me following that up with my flash since she'll still probably get away. So I'm just going to get that advantage for my team, get her flash, and move on to the Scuttle Crab. While doing your red buff, keep a close eye on the enemy bot lane. If you saw, they got to lane late, so I figured Graves probably started on blue buff. And as you can see here, trying to fight someone who has red buff when you only have blue buff is fucking terrible. He didn't come anywhere close to beating me because he had blue buff, also because I took Conqueror and he took Fleet Footwork. Even if somehow the fight was much closer and let's say the enemy bot lane would try to rotate, bear in mind if you gank the bot lane after red buff, it gives your bot lane such a big advantage that there was no way the enemy bot lane could have roamed on me for that Scuttle Crab. Whenever you're fighting someone, especially the enemy jungler, you want to press tab at some point and see what items they have and also see what their CS count is. Graves had 8 CS and blue buff, so I know he took his blue buff and Gromp. Or he could have just taken blue buff and wolves, but most likely Gromp. That's why I just immediately ran through the mid lane. Graves is behind, he doesn't really have any items, and I figured he would run straight to his red buff, raptors, or golems, but most likely red buff, and sure enough he does. Orianna is on her way, and I figure the top laner is as well. I will give Orianna credit for this only being mid-high gold. She got here really damn early, and so did Riven, and that paid off for their team. Remember, the upper left side scuttle is still up, plus I haven't touched the upper left side of my jungle. Graves is respawning in as well, and he's probably doing his red buff right now. So if I go to scuttle, I figure I can kill him if he comes for it, or I might be able to kill him on his raptors. But instead, he actually does red buff straight in his scuttle, which sets up a really easy kill for me, because once Kindred's on you, unless you have some insane escape tool like LeBlanc, you're really not going to be able to get away from her. Because of her constant semi-Q resets with her W, she also has that insane single target slow on her E, which is a 50% slow at level 1. Graves foolishly thought he could 1v1 me because he had red buff, but didn't take into account I had 2 kills and he had none. I run top lane for an easy gank, drop W, Q, E on the Riven, and then I was going to Q auto attack her under turret to finish her off and then run away. Unfortunately, she did have flash and lived because of it. I'm low on health and have a lot of gold, so I go ahead and recall, and I'm going to start pathing towards my mark that I saw on Gromp. It disappeared in base, so while I was in base, I knew Graves had taken it within the last 8 seconds or so, and sure enough, he took it, and then he ran straight over here to my golems. I guess he figured I was farming his topside jungle right now, so he went into my bot side jungle, but this is really not looking good for him, and since he's so far behind, it's really too risky for him to invade me if he has no idea where I am. This pathing is a little bit awkward because I'm not going to be there at my red buff right when it spawns in. Since I did just push Graves away though, I'm not too concerned about it, and I also wanted to path towards top lane since Riven keeps pushing and I've already blown her flash. Just come up behind the enemy, throw down your W, Q, E, and keep auto attacking them and moving in between your autos. If you do this, you'll stick on them like glue and do absolute heaps of damage. Since Riven didn't have flash, she came nowhere close to escaping. When you cast your E, try not to cancel your auto attack because your E is a real animation, and if you start an auto attack and don't finish it and then use your E, you'll cancel your auto. While taking my mark, I warded over the wall and saw Graves was coming for it. Whenever you're playing Kindred, you can count on the enemy jungler and usually the whole enemy team to try to stop taking your marks right when they see it. What you're seeing right here is a perfect example of me being extremely greedy to get the mark that I have on Graves. Even though I got the golem mark and even though I could have jumped back over the wall and didn't have to chase it, I made this bad decision because I lusted over a mark. Let this be a lesson. If you don't feel at least 90% confident that you'll get it and probably live, don't go for it. That Graves mark, best case scenario, I was going to get it and then Riven was going to kill me. While spawning in, I saw Graves' red buff was coming up and he's waiting on it, so there's no reason for me to go over there. Instead, I'm going to take my red, my raptors, and go to the wolf mark since I knew Graves wasn't going to be here to contest it. He does come to it, but he's so late, and he thought Orianna was going to back him up. Even if she had came, I'm pretty sure I could have at least killed Graves, and then best case scenario for them, Orianna might have killed me. I just got 2 marks and killed the enemy jungler. Ideally, I would have liked to do Dragon at this point, but Janna and Orianna were missing, and they end up collapsing on me, nearly killing me. Luckily, Orianna is low on mana though, so they don't have too much of a follow-up. That mark on wolves that I just took and then killed Graves, if I didn't see Graves on his red buff, and since Orianna was missing, if that was the case, I wouldn't have gone for it because I would have just assumed they were waiting for me to start it and then they would have just killed me right when I got there. But since I did see Graves on his red buff at the time, even though Orianna was missing, it was still fairly safe. Coming up for another gank on Riven, Nasus gets down the Wither and then Riven starts running towards me and I panic and jump away. If you're ahead like I am right now, even if someone strong like Riven approaches you, just stay calm and blast their brains in. You don't have to move away from them just because they move towards you. In this case, if I would have just held my ground, we would have had a lot better chance of killing her, or at the least inflicting a lot more damage. Don't forget, you still have your ultimate, and if you're patient with it and don't click it too early, you're probably not going to die, especially since Riven doesn't even have a complete item yet. That gank did set me up to come take this mark. I actually saw this mark appear whenever I was doing the scuttle crab, and sure enough, Riven comes to try to stop me. I jump over the wall, I jump back in and kill her. This happens almost every single time when you go to take a mark. Somebody will come to try to stop you, and oftentimes they will come far too late. And as you can see here, they try to hold me down. I just jump back over the wall at the end of my ultimate. They weren't expecting it. Graves is a weak ass little bitch. I beat him up. Now Orianna's low and they cannot pursue me. At the very least, you want to make sure you have your Q up for once it ends. That way you can either chase down the enemy, or if you're trying to get away like what I was trying to do, you can jump over a wall. That way you can escape. If I didn't hold on to my Q there and I just sat there while Graves and Orianna pounded me, I definitely would have died, and then I would not have picked up the kill on Graves and lived to tell the tale. I'm really fed in the area and I see Graves' blue buff is up. Surely enough, he's over here and Orianna's missing. She ends up landing an ultimate on me, but I have full Conqueror stacks right now, and with my Ravenous Hunter, I'm getting some insane healing. I take her out. Now I'm going to take the blue and then back off, just in case the enemy bot lane decides to collapse on me. Whenever you're trying to get out of a situation and you're kiting a camp, just move towards where you want to go. The camp will follow you and then you can kill it on your way out. That fight was just understanding how much damage I can do, and more importantly, understanding just how little damage Graves and Orianna do with how many items they have. If you're not as experienced on Kindred as me, you might have felt a little bit nervous when you saw the Orianna and Graves and you would have just tried to run instead with your flash. Once you get more comfortable with her and realize your high damage output, you'll be able to take more fights like that, especially when you're ahead, and carry a lot more games. If you know you can solo the enemy jungler, or once you do have a significant lead and you know you can take on multiple people at once, Feel free to keep showing up to the enemy jungler's buff and wrecking them. I tossed down my ult right as the Orianna ult is about to go off, and it doesn't quite go off before I kill her, and then Graves is stranded in the aftermath. Take down Orianna. I had just got the Rift Herald, and now I can apply more map pressure by taking turrets or just wiping out Graves' jungle, putting him farther behind and getting me much farther ahead. You have to remember though, gold and marks aren't everything. Even though Kindred does scale very well, she can still struggle in the late game, especially if the enemy team has a lot of armor because your team is primarily AD, or if they have a lot of CC with things like Malphite and Thresh. So you're still going to want to go for objectives like turrets, Rift Heralds, and Dragons, or whenever you can do so safely. If you don't do this, you're going to be dragging the games out longer and longer, and the biggest part about winning more games and carrying games is knowing how to push your advantages and not just stretching the games out as long as possible. That is how you have a 50% win rate. As I built my lead off of red buff ganking and then Scuttle Crab, I didn't mindlessly go back into my own jungle. Instead, I kept pathing towards Graves' jungles, kept pathing towards ganks, and then whenever Graves didn't have a buff up or I didn't have an opportunity to get several kills, I would go for Dragon or a Herald. Because if you're just sitting around waiting to get kills the whole game, you're just not going to be able to end the game. As you do take more and more pressure with Dragons, Herald, and enemy turrets, you can more actively sit in their jungle and keep pushing up waves. Since we have taken the turrets, we can be in their jungle without them even knowing it. If they ward it, we can break the wards, and they have to go to ward it themselves since they don't have many turrets left to give them outer vision. If you look at my jungle right now, almost all my camps are up, and that's okay. I don't have to go farm them. I can just keep taking enemy waves, pushing their turrets, taking Graves camps, getting kills, and ending the game. There's no reason to go farm my camps, and my teammates shouldn't be farming my camps right now either. If they need gold and the enemies aren't making mistakes, they can just take the minion waves, enemy jungle camps, objectives, and turrets. And luckily, that's what they're doing because that's what I'm doing. Oftentimes, if you're making the mistake of going back and farming your jungle in this situation when you're ahead and you should be pressuring the enemy team, oftentimes your teammate will follow you because they think it's okay and they're just building up an even bigger lead, when in reality, they're giving the enemies a lot of room to breathe instead of choking them out while you have the chance. The only reason I'm in my jungle farming right now is because there's not much to take in the enemy's jungle, plus my teammates all recalled, so if I stayed pushed up, I would be leaving myself in a bad situation where the enemy team could 5v1 me while my teammates were in base applying zero pressure. I am, however, coming out now that my teammates are on the map, plus Graves' red was coming up, so it was a win-win. Even if you feel like the enemies have gotten away from you, especially in the mid and late game, even if they go over their turret walls, you can easily follow suit with your Q and the resets you get off your W with your Q. They're trying to 3v1 me here, but I'm just going to save my Q for every time they throw out a skill shot. I'm dodging like every Ori spell because I'm just holding on to my Qs and she's getting scared of me. I take out the Janna. Graves steps up a little bit too far because he thinks he's a big boy. I say, no, you're not. Give him a few spankings. Now it's Ezreal's turn. He's going to step up. Nami's powering me up like a steroided power lifter. I take out Ezreal, and that is pretty much the game right there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this Kindred commentary guide. Expect a pro Kindred guide in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My name is KingStix. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.